Ren from Hallowed Be Thy Game, and today I'm sharing with you my review of Persona 5 Strikers. Let's check it out. Persona 5 Strikers is the sequel to arguably my favorite game of all time, Persona 5. Before we begin, I think it's only right that I warn you that this video is sponsored by me. Well, rather my irrational bias to love all things Persona 5. Now, even though I'll be the first to admit that I simp really hard for all things Persona 5, this review will include everything I love and even some things that I didn't like about Persona 5 Strikers. Heck, there's even some things about Persona 5 Strikers I want to see in Persona 6. I know, crazy right? Well, I'm going to be getting to that towards the end of the video. Well, enough of me blathering on. Let's get to story and characters. Okay, well, if you've seen my recent video on my top 10 favorite parties in JRPGs, then you won't be surprised to learn that the cast of Persona 5 is fantastic. Last year was an incredibly difficult year for everyone. During that time, I did play and complete Persona 5 Royal, and it imprinted on my soul. Taking the 110-hour-long journey through Royal was a Magarudyne whirlwind that hasn't put me down since. I say all of this to relate to you that the story and feel of the crew had to be on point for me. I mean, you are messing with one of my favorite groups of all time. This is a sequel, but I am so happy to report to you that Persona 5 Strikers absolutely captures the essence and feel of Persona 5 start to finish. This was the area of deepest concern I had as I continued to progress through Strikers. Omega Force and P Studio have nailed it though. At the end of Persona 5, you have a borderline crushing longing to spend more time with the gang. Well, Strikers takes place about 4 to 6 months after the end of vanilla Persona 5. Sorry Kasumi and Maruki fans, I'm hurt too. And Japan is being plagued by something stealing the desires of people. Jails are popping up all over the countryside, and now it is up to the Phantom Thieves to clear their name. This can mean only one thing. Road trip! Oh my god! Yes, you heard me correctly. We get to go on a road trip across Japan with the Phantom Thieves. Makoto's driving, and it's time to throw it into high gear. Strikers also took the bold move of adding 2 new members to the team. Sophia joins the thieves right off the bat, and she's a computer AI that tags along with the gang in Joker's cell phone. Fantastic character, and I'm happy to confirm she is not grating or anything like that. I love the interactions she had with the team as an AI system. I was initially concerned that she would steal some of the thunder that Futaba had as the gang's computer hacker. But rest easy, Futaba fans, she's still the reigning champ in the fast typing skills of the hacker world. Now, I won't spoil who the second member is to join the gang, but rest assured, they are friggin' excellent, and I loved how seamlessly they fit into the crew. All in all, spending more time with the Phantom Thieves, RVing it across Japan was a dream come true. It felt like an 80s movie injected with Persona jazz. It is a little annoying in one section where we have like a copy and pasted hot springs scene that's essentially from Persona 4, Cold Steel, and every other JRPG trope on the planet. But hey, don't be expecting the type of emotional devastation in the story that you see in the final palace of Persona 5 Royal. Ouch. This game has just enough quality for me to not feel so bad that it is absolutely a guilty pleasure. If you are a fan of Persona 5 story, then you'll be happy to know this stands above the vast majority of other Persona mainline spin-offs. This is due in part to the excellent story setup, brilliant combat direction, and gameplay. Admittedly, above all else, play Persona 5 Vanilla or Royal, at least before playing this. This game is perfect for being an excellent supplement to your initial experience. But as for it being your introduction to the thieves, well, I'm not sure. I've already drank the Kool-Aid, and there's very little chance I can ignore my bias enough to say on this matter. But if you haven't played Persona 5 yet, like, what are you doing? Go and correct that mistake. Music. Oh, it's stellar as always. I mean, did you expect anything else? The new tracks to this game are incredible, with a big shout out to the first jail's theme and the remix of Rivers in the Desert. My god, I love it. It was bliss for my ears. Gameplay. Now I want to cover everything that takes place with Strikers that isn't immediately involving combat. The power progression and gameplay loop of Persona 5 Strikers is one that may honestly turn away some who know nothing of the Persona Fusion system and just the general ebb and flow of playing any Persona that takes place after Persona 3 onwards. Essentially, as you progress through the game and fight encounters, you will defeat enemies and they will leave their masks on the ground. Picking these up will allow you to use the Persona you were just fighting on Joker. Strikers does away with the negotiating and card mechanics from other Persona games and acquiring new Persona, and honestly it does make sense for the action RPG Muso style of Strikers. Now Persona 5 Strikers pulls no punches in assuming you will be fusing your Personas and progressing through the game. Don't get too attached to any Persona. That's always the rule of mainline entries, and it absolutely applies here. The reason is because the Persona is how you will gain access to stronger spells. But later in the game, it becomes imperative that you are aware of the weaknesses and strengths of the Persona Joker has equipped. Let me explain. If I'm going to be fighting one of the game's optional super bosses, such as Seth, Jesus, he was not easy, then I need to be aware he's going to be throwing out a crap ton of fire or Agi magic. If I equipped a Persona that absorbs or is invulnerable to fire, then essentially it trivializes any fire or Agi spells he throws out. Then I can just worry about the borderline one-shot physical attacks. I was really curious how this would translate into an action RPG, as it is such an important part of the turn-based mainline entries of Persona and SMT. Well, it's fantastic. I am head over heels in love with Strikers having the boldness to hard commit to this. I say this because if you are heading into fights with underlevel Persona or Persona that are weak to the element you are fighting, you're gonna have a bad time. Like a really bad time. Luckily, the gameplay system is set up to where the Velvet Room is present at every checkpoint. This means that if you are having a challenging time, then just pop in there, throw in some fusions, and bada bing bada boom, you're good to go. It is laid out in an extremely intuitive way, and Lavenza, who's the Velvet Room attendant, will simultaneously give you side quests to make Persona for her. Pro tip, those Persona Fusion quests are usually given when you would need that Persona. Now, I loved how in Strikers you gain a resource by capturing and deleting any unneeded Persona to be spent solely on actions in the Velvet Room. Now, with these points, you can quickly level up freshly acquired Persona to unlock further skills they have or even boost their stats. I loved going and hunting down the super bosses in the game and then planning out how I wanted to set up my endgame or even New Game Plus party. It's excellent. Now, in addition to hunting super bosses and passively grinding your way through the game, you will be sent requests. These are side quests, and there's a lot of them. Now, even though there are some variety to these, I do want to state that these can be a mixed bag. There's a lot of them, but you definitely don't want to ignore them. Some rewards from these quests will add new accessories and items to Sophia's shop. This is imperative for progressing through the game. I hesitate to even call these side quests because I really couldn't see how you'd get through the game by ignoring every request in the game. Sure, you don't have to do them all, but some of these rewards are too good to ignore. These are how you unlock New Game Plus, super bosses, harder difficulties in the game, and as well as just basic necessities and upgrades for making your progress so much smoother through Strikers. Now, I'll be the first to admit I can be quite the oddball, but I love doing side quests in games. But I can definitely see where the sheer amount of side quests may grind on the nerves of other players. Also, there are some requests that ask you to sneak through the previous jails without raising any alarms in the jail. Admittedly, I was not a fan of these requests, but hey, kudos for trying something different. And maybe you will enjoy the variety more than I did. I did get into a pattern where I'd progress through the game, beat a boss, do all the side quests and get my upgrades, and then press on. It was euphoric, and I would do it again. Luckily, while you're progressing through the game, the banter between the characters is just so much fun, and it feels like you're playing a Persona action RPG, so success. As you beat bosses and progress to new cities, you'll want to roam around town and talk to everyone, visit shops, and buy recipes to unlock. These serve two purposes. The SP and HP refilling items from cooking are the best in the game, and are clutch for the difficult encounters where you may have to burn through more of your SP and resources. And they also increase your bond with the other Phantom Thieves for the first time you make them. Your bond level will unlock bond points that will offer the most drastic and helpful form of power progression in the game. This kind of takes the place of the Confidant or Social Link quests from the mainline entry. This will offer a wide array of bonuses from flat stat upgrades for the party, cook better food, and be able to open all levels of chests and jails. It's mega satisfying, and let me highly encourage you to invest in the bond perk ASAP, as you'll be able to earn more points with each level up. Otherwise, don't sweat it too much, go ahead and upgrade whatever playstyle you prefer. It's a ton of fun, and so with that, let's dive into combat. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The press turn battle system is the greatest combat system in all of turn-based gaming. So how does it fare after 60 hours in an action RPG Musou game? Well, it still friggin' rocks. I love it. When Persona 5 Strikers is good, it hits it out of the park harder than Ryuji slamming his rocket-propelled grenade into a horde of shadows. Oh, it's intoxicating. I say this because with management of your personas in the Velvet Room offers a level of strategy and reward before the fight even starts that directly benefits you in combat. So each Phantom Thief will have access to their persona, and Joker, being the wild card, has access to every persona you come across. Now you have basic attacks that can be paired with your special attack to unleash combos. So to give an example, if I basic attack on Joker until I see his blade turn red, I then can hit the special attack twice and he will perform a spell from his persona that will not consume any SP. So if my persona's combat ability throws out a Bufu or ice spell, then I can use that free of charge to hit an enemy's weakness. This is incredible as it helps conserve SP for buffing your party, healing, or even debuffing the enemy. And yes, it's very helpful to do so in this game. Never ignore buffs and debuffs. The persona spells have a reticle that will target an area and consume SP to unleash devastating combos. SP is a precious resource, and boss fights and strikers can be very long, so you want to go easy on your SP when you can. Hitting an enemy's weakness is imperative to cracking their armor. As you fight bosses or special enemies, you will notice yellow shields beneath their health bar. By cracking these shields, you will unlock the ability to do follow-up attacks that can either utilize your own persona's power even more, or baton pass to a specific party member to gang up on your foe. It's glorious performing some beast mode combos to wreck some of the tougher bosses in the game. When you finally crack all the armor on the enemy, you will be able to do an all-out attack with the team that will devastate their health bar. One other thing I'd love to mention is how Strikers incorporated Showtime attacks from Royal. Essentially, as you fight, you build up a super ability that when unleashed, it will take the element of your current persona and eviscerate whatever poor sap is on the receiving end. Just make sure that you spend your showtime attacks on enemies that are at least not invulnerable to your current persona. Again, the main takeaway from Strikers is that it is first and foremost following the strengths and weaknesses guidelines from the mainline entries. For lack of a better phrase, this is a Muso game that requires your attention. I loved how the game challenged me to get back into that Persona mood, and the combat system nails the meld between genres. Word of caution though, if you are not exploiting weaknesses and all the tools the game gives you, then expect some very long boss encounters that can go poorly very quickly. Now as I wrap up this video, I do want to share that there is one aspect of Persona 5 Strikers that I would love to see in the next Persona game. Wait, don't rage, hear me out. I loved how in Strikers that any spell your party members learn can be immediately relearned and assigned with no hassle. Seriously, this is an excellent quality of life change, and I'd love to see it become a part of the next mainline entry. In Royal, you could always have your party relearn spells that they had discarded, but it required a lot more time investment and resources to deal with. Not impossible or anything, but for sure a much appreciated quality of life change. Persona 5 Strikers was and still is that road trip with the Phantom Thieves that I much needed. After my time with it, I am already having a blast setting up my playthrough for the harder difficulties in the game. There's so much bang for your buck to be had here. However, if you're not a fan of the basic combat mechanics from the mainline entries, then beware. This game at its core plays by those rules, and for that reason, it is why it's still one of my favorite games I've played this year. The impact of its story is not as profound and jaw-dropping as Royal and the vanilla game, but it achieves what it sets out to do. Give us more time with the Phantom Thieves. Excellent sequel, and not gonna lie, I'd love to have another entry. Hopefully with Persona 6 we can get a similar Muso style game, but let's be clear, I ain't knocking the floor stomping dancing spinoffs. Well, there you have it. There's my review of Persona 5 Strikers. Have you played it yet? Let me know down in the comments what your favorite Persona game is and spinoff. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe and hit that notification bell for more Persona content. And until then, I'll see you all next time.